More than 100,000 Ethiopians protest the brutal killings of dozens of Ethiopian Christians in Libya. The government-supported march turned violent as protesters clashed with police. They're upset with their nation's failure to raise the living standards of the poor. The victims, beheaded or shot by terrorists, may have been captured in Libya while trying to migrate to Europe. Extreme poverty is fueling the flow of migrants through dangerous areas. Kristen Evans is Executive Director of In Defense of Christians. And Kristen, what specific threat do Christians in the Mideast especially face from ISIS?
Christians in the Middle East experience a wide range of threats from ISIS in the Middle East. As you just noted, right, we have recently watched the tragic events in Libya of the Ethiopian Christian community. These are just immigrants, they're low-wage workers, very similar to the community of Coptic Christians that were also the target of an ISIS attack and a tragic beheading earlier this year. So Christianity in the Middle East, particularly in Egypt and in Syria, where ISIS has taken ground and is trying to make its Islamic State, has experiences threats there. We've seen Christian communities being exiled. We've seen people taking hostages, entire towns. We've seen horrible acts of violence and beheading and a general ethnic cleansing of the area.
Do you think Christianity in that region can survive, or is it doomed?
Well, we certainly hope it can survive, Brian. Christianity in the Middle East has been there as long as Christianity has existed, right? It's really the cradle of Christianity. Christianity in the Middle East is very diverse. So if you look at a country like Egypt, has almost 4 million Coptic Christians that live in Egypt. There's many nations in the Middle East where Christians live very peacefully and very well integrated into their communities, in Lebanon or in Jordan. Unfortunately, the violence, the political unrest, the civil unrest of both of both Iraq and Syria have sort of allowed this vacuum of civil order, which has made it open to space for these terrorists and these fundamentalists to come in and to begin their ethnic cleansing with their particular ideology. But that ideology doesn't represent the vast majority of the population of the Middle East. They're small extremist groups that are looking to impose their ideology on both communities and on territory.
And yet we see these Christians being martyred. That's how Pope Francis refers to them, as martyrs. How can we express solidarity with persecuted Christians?
You know, it's interesting, Brian. I was just at the UN last week, and in a certain way, we're all watching the situation of Christians across the globe, right? And I hear a lot of Christians, Catholic and non-Catholics, say, I didn't even know there were Christians in the Middle East. And this has been a very big learning moment for many people. I didn't realize. And as I mentioned, Christianity has been there since its very inception in the Middle East. So I think we're seeing more and more an awakening of the broader Christian community, definitely within the United States, within Europe. We're beginning to realize that these communities are there. We're becoming more knowledgeable about them, and we're asking questions, well, what can we do? What can we do together? What can we do politically? What can we do humanitarian aid? What can we do within our own government structures to make sure that these questions in the protection of minority rights in these countries are being addressed?
And just the willingness to do is certainly a step forward. From In Defense of Christians, Kristen Evans, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.